So, crime.
Right.
Crime.
It's a scourge, I'm told.
Yeah, it is a scourge. It's on the rise. It's always on the rise.
Always.
Always on the rise.
Despite all evidence to the contrary, crime on the rise.
It's a menace. It's a scourge. It's a virus. You know, a plague. It spreads. And I want a piece of the action. If it's that popular, that could revitalize my flagging career. That could do it, right? Crime. It does pay. Don't listen to the propaganda, kids listening, right?
They only say that to try and trick people out of getting into crime.
Yeah. Like, I know, like, several dealers who are doing really well for themselves. Like crime pays pretty well.
There might be consequences later, but the reason people do crime is often because it pays.
Because it pays really well. Like, my granddad always had that thing, like that he always told me growing up as a kid, like what you told me, like, if you're gonna do something that'll land you in jail, like, you make sure the payoff's worth it. So, like, he clearly knew to pick a big score.
Yeah.
But here's like, something I've worked out, because I consume a lot of media like everyone else, right? Mm-hmm. All the other filthy nerds that talk about video games for a living, right? I watch a lot of TV, well, not so much these days, but in my time, I've watched a lot of TV, a lot of films, played a lot of games, and I've worked out how to get away with crime.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How are you going to get away with crime?
You just dress like a total bellend, right? What you do, it doesn't matter what crime it is, right? Let's say you want to rob a bank, right? You turn up dressed, like, one of you is dressed as a monkey, another is in, like, an extra large boy-sized Stone Cold Steve Austin costume, with like, a latex mask, right?
Yeah,
and that's too big, and it's a bit floppy. The other one is dressed like, fuck knows, Lion, Wizard of Oz, right? Doesn't matter. Cross between the Lion from Wizard of Oz and an Oompa Loompa. It's somehow really insensitive. You turn up, you do the heist, however you want to do that, like shotguns, handguns, a length of wire, however you want to rob the bank. When the cops turn up, you shout at them, wait, we're not here to rob the bank. It's a big misunderstanding. And if media's taught me anything, the guy in charge of what was about to become a siege will say, well, y'all don't look like bank robbers. And we walk free.
Now, see, I had a different plan of how you were gonna, here's what I would do if I was gonna pull this crime off. You start the same way. You go into the bank wearing your silly comical outfits. One of you's dressed like the Hulk in a little plastic face mask. One of you's dressed like the front half of a pantomime horse or whatever. And you do the bank robbery. But here's my getaway plan. You do it on the day that the silly outfits parade is going past the bank. So you do the robbery and then you disappear into the crowd with the silly outfit parade. You just got to find a bank near a parade route for silly outfits.
That's even more perfect. Because then if you do get collared by the cops, you're like, we were robbing the bank as part of the parade. And then they buy into it because y'all are dressed for the parade. You're not dressed like bank robbers. And again, that's been my media observation. I was playing Rise of Ronin earlier, like, not to make this about games, like, not to make this bit of the show off topic, but it was in that as well. Like, you were there to, like, essentially burgle something, but with something of a more heroic purpose. But you were there to burgle. However, the man, after you have a bit of a bus fight with him, he says, oh, you don't look like regular burglars. And I'm like, it all clicked into place because I've seen that so many times. The heroes turn up and they're mistaken for doing a crime, but they don't look like that. They don't fit the profile. And especially as three white people, right? We can get away with so much crime.
That's true.
Like, I mean, Jesus Christ. I put the ghostly in White Collar Criminal.
I mean, look, as someone who had to navigate a bank as a trans person today, I don't know how much I want to count on my whiteness overriding the fact that I'm a visibly trans person and that the bank don't want to have shit to do with me.
In my gleeful rush to make a satirical point, I forgot that you and I were trans.
Yeah.
I was so proud of myself.
Oh, no, you were right to be proud of yourself. You just picked the day where... You know what my favourite bit of interacting with the bank was today? Was the point where I was chatting to the woman behind the desk. I was trying to explain what paperwork I needed for a thing. And she's aggressively he-hemming in a way that I don't very often get.
Sake.
And, I correct once or twice, and she's just sort of ploughing through it. And my favourite is when she's trying to get some help from the other person on the other desk on how to do this form. And she's going, yeah, because this should work, shouldn't it? Because it's got his name on it. It's got his name on it, hasn't it? And she's literally pointing and poking at and looking directly at my name that says Mrs. at the start of it and going... Yep, seems like a he-him situation here.
What a fucking piece of shit.
I know, right? This is why we gotta rob the bank.
This is why
revenge.
we have to rob the bank.
I've had a bad day. I need to rob the bank as revenge. It's only fair. They did a transphobia. I get to rob them now.
There is no clearer foundation for the tenet of be gay, do crimes than this.
Yeah.
This is absolute gay vengeance.
Yeah, if we rob the bank and, whiteness isn't alone enough to save us from the consequences, I pull out the, hey, well, you did a transphobia earlier, and we get off scot-free, because, it's revenge. It was deserved.
Fuck. I am so glad I did not rob a bank tonight before you reminded me that I'm a minority, because I sometimes forget because I spent so long as not one. I sometimes forget that, I had to hand in a lot of safety.
A lot of privilege.
Yeah, a lot of privilege.
You've handed in a lot of ability to rob a bank scot-free.
Honestly, my criminal capacity has really fucking downgraded. Gonna have to stick to defrauding old ladies. I luckily...
It's still a good market.
Well, I live on a cul-de-sac in an area with a lot of old dearies, and I've always had good rapport with them. They've always liked me, which is funny, because actually on the subject after I did come out, I used to think I'd get grief off, old folks. And no, they're the fucking loveliest, Oh,
yeah.
That's my prejudice there.
Yeah, no, they get to a point where they're like, I'm too old to have the energy to be a bigot anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of them just get to the point of, I've got too little life left to care what all you young'uns are up to. Go ahead.
They always compliment me. Especially if I've got some of my fancy boots on. They love the boots. Older ladies love the boots. Yeah, that's always been a pleasant surprise. Yeah.
Welcome to Podquisition. We mentioned a video game in the first 5 minutes.
Fuck.
Not for long, but we acknowledged one.
Yeah, that was my mistake.
Look at us go,
Mm-hmm.
acknowledging a video game that soon. Who's been playing stuff this week?
I mean,
you've played
we've all
like
played
3 things. I mean, what are you played, Comrade? How many things have you played this week?
I'm trying to think if I played anything really.
I just remembered one. I have played 4. That shouldn't affect the makeup of the show, but don't let me forget that I played 4.
Okay, I'll try and remember there's a 4th.
Yeah.
I'll try and keep it in my head. I'll jump in with one to start. Why not? I played a game this week that I found real interesting. It's one I've been looking forward to checking out for a while, called Botany Manor.
Oh, that was one of the ones that showed up on Game Pass that I kept saying, I'm going to play that, and then didn't.
Yeah, so this is, I'll put this caveat up front because, acknowledging stuff. This is one of the games that last year during the Accessibility Summer Showcase, that was in the showcase. And as such, I'm not afraid to be critical of it, but also if you want to, be skeptical of the praise I have for it, there's your context. A year ago, I looked at it and went, that looks like a promising accessible video game. And now it's out. It is, with some... I got a couple of little accessibility caveats about it, but I'll talk about the overall game first. So, Botany Manor is a first-person adventure game about working out how to tend to and care for a bunch of plants in the late 1800s as a woman facing institutional gatekeeping from academia. Basically, you are playing as a woman who is very, very skilled at experimentally discovering good growing conditions for plants, who is trying to write a book about unusual plants she's found around the world and cultivating the right sort of conditions for them. It is, in part, a puzzle game about exploring this sort of ever-expanding areas of this house and the surrounding gardens to find clues about how these various plants might be cared for, while exploring a story about academic gatekeeping. The way that the game works is that you have small areas of the house and gardens at a time, and each sort of area you unlock, there'll be like maybe 2 or 3 seeds available, and you're basically going around trying to find clues that you can fill into this journal. Each plant has its own page in this little journal you're carrying around, and each plant has a certain number of clue slots, and if you think a clue relates to a certain plant, you put it in a slot, and if all the slots are filled with the correct clues, it'll lock them in place and go, that is the correct set of clues, you do have enough information now to work out how to care for this plant and get it to bloom into all sorts of lovely colours. And these start off pretty simple, like the first example is there is only one plant and you're in basically one little conservatory and it's like, go check the chalkboard over there that's got a list of plants and where they typically grow, and then temperatures based on those locations, and then you can sort of go, cool, I go put this near the heater and turn the temperature to that sort of temperature. It gets a lot more abstract. You get some real sideways lateral thinking steps. You'll get to a point where you have all the clues for how to care for a plant, but you still have to take the leap of how do I interpret those clues and turn them into something actionable and repeatable. It's not a super lengthy game. It's maybe like 5 hours or so long. I think that is a pretty good length for what it is. Visually really charming. It's very, very colourful. It makes really good use of this slightly watercolour, very like the saturation's been whacked up quite strong setting. I like the house that you're exploring. It's got a feel of something like the Resident Evil 1 mansion in that sense of everything feels very logically connected, and as you explore it, it feels like it makes sense as a space to explore, a space with like a very specific sort of character to it. It's an interesting little puzzle game that I had a charming time with, and I think that the narrative conceit of like the journey of this person trying to be taken seriously academically is an interesting narrative through line. I think a lot of the stuff it's doing accessibility-wise is really strong. I appreciate that there is the ability to control the entire game with a single stick. There is a lot of good options for things like button toggles rather than holds, all those kind of things. The area of accessibility where I have a little quibble, and it's not a big issue, it's something that is very contextual, and that I found workarounds for, and I think it's worth talking about. This game has a dedicated motion sickness accessibility menu. I want to be clear up front that I think the settings in there are really good and did a good job at mitigating a lot of the experiences I have with first-person games. The game has options for things like changing your field of view, acceleration speed when moving, camera smoothness, all the things that on paper are the correct checklist of things to offer, and they definitely do a lot to help. The two things I would say if you're someone like me who's prone to motion sickness, while this is a great like second screen kind of game, the Switch version may not be the best version to play if you are chronically motion sick, because it has little dips in frame rate, and they're not frequent. They usually happen when, like, I'm turning the camera sideways quite quickly while going downstairs while moving quickly. And it's not enough that, like, the game feels not good to be playing, but it's enough that it's, like, setting my motion sickness off a little. And that's not so much an issue on a lot of the other platforms, even something like Steam Deck sort of smooths that out. The other thing I will note is, when I was picking up these sort of clues around the manor, I kept wanting to be able to open the journal where I was, like, plugging in the clues, and look at those clues in the journal. Like, if I've collected all 6 clues to do with the plant, and I'm like, what did they all say again so I can get the whole picture in my head? You can't look in your journal and read the clues. You can see the names of the clues because they're on the page that you put them in. But to go, fully reread that page of a book or that newspaper article or look at that painting again, you have to go physically back to them in the manor and check them all. And that kind of left me with two choices. Slowly backtrack around the house to check those things in person, or use Sprint, which was going to make me more likely to be motion sick. Ultimately, the workaround I found playing it on Switch, and I wish I'd thought of this sooner, take screenshots if you are someone who gets motion sick. Take screenshots when you find a clue, so you can just look at them in your screenshots folder rather than having to run back to them. Kind of sidesteps the issue. But yeah, that all being said, it's a really charming little game about just unravelling several years of a person's life through the lens of just trying to make a pretty flower bloom, through going and digging through someone's drawers and trying to find little bits of information that might somehow connect to each other.
That's nice.
It's a real charming little game.
That sounds fun.
It's really chill.
I haven't played a proper laid-back game in a while. That sounds appealing.
It's nice. I appreciate there's a lot of thought put into, there's no time limits on anything. You never have to, do a thing and then quickly rush over to do something else before time runs out.
Mm-hmm.
The puzzle logic is all pretty solid. There was maybe one moment in the game where I had to ask for help on something. And, but it's out now as a game. I was playing it before release for review, so, at this point you could just Google if you get stuck, and I'm sure there'll be a walkthrough somewhere, but, generally I found the puzzle balancing was pretty good. There were moments where I had to stop for a while and really scratch my head, but usually I had that aha moment and didn't feel like the game was the problem. I was like, you finally put it together. Well done, me. But yeah, what about you, Steph? What you been playing this week?
Right. So, I think sometimes a game is such that watching a Let's Play is just as valid as directly playing the game.
Agreed.
So, come with me on a little journey as we go to Stephanie's Long Play Corner. So, yeah, I forgot all about this. I might as well mention the ones that I wasn't going to mention. I started watching... I don't know why I do this every now and then. I started watching a long play of Little Big Adventure. Not Little Big Planet, Little Big Adventure. With Twinson, a guy whose voice makes me want to be homophobic somehow.
A game I know better than to go back and try to play.
I know better than to go back and just watch.
Oh, no.
I always forget how fucking awkward it was.
Yeah.
Because I never really liked it. I don't know why, when I'm feeling nostalgic, that's one of my go-tos, because I never even really played it. My brother played it. Back when I was a kid, a lot of games I experienced for the first time just watching my brother do them, because I didn't feel mechanically adept at that time and didn't really have the kind of coordination as a kid for him. And that was one of the ones I watched, and I had no great love for it. I found the voices annoying and the world unappealing, but for some reason, I put it on now and then. Didn't last as long as I usually do on this one. I think it was less than 5 minutes before I turned that one off. Opted for Commander Keen instead. Better choice. The original Commander Keen, id Software, obviously nowhere near as well known as Doom became. This was sort of the stuff they did before that, a platformer, side-scrolling platformer, as this little 8-year-old boy with a crash helmet on, collecting items and shooting Martians, predominantly. What were they called? Vorticon, something sounded a bit hitchhikery, you know. Used to love that game as a kid. I used to make it a survival horror for myself because there were these blue werewolfy ones, enemies. They looked out of their mind. They would jump up and down and their sprite would switch left and right so it looked like they were spasming. And I found them terrifying. And there was one at the top of a level. And what we would do was me and my brother would aggro him, get him to follow us, jump, and have him fall off the ledge. And his AI would just send him bouncing around the level, so we never knew when we'd jump into him. And we made the game terrifying. That's one of my favourite early game memories, was turning Commander Keen into a horror game by unleashing this enemy. So that was fun. Obviously, they didn't do that in the YouTube video. They played it normally. But it was still fun to see. The sounds are obnoxious. The old school blinky blonky DOS sound effects, like Sound Blaster shit, like terrible. But that was fun. So the main one though was, and this is the one where watching a Let's Play really was as valid, sort of a long play. Sort of, I prefer the ones without the narration. Virtual Springfield was the one. Our friend Zoe was on a call with us, and it came up somehow. I think Simpsons Cartoon Studio came up first, because I had that as a kid. And it was... I can't imagine how shit and disappointing that game would be if it came out now. And Zoe mentioned that she had the other one, Virtual Springfield. She wanted Cartoon Studio, but parents made a mistake, got the wrong one. And I had never really played it. I'd seen bits and bobs of it. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to just refresh my memory and put it on. And there was a 40-minute video. I'm like, I'm not going to watch all this. But it became really sort of comforting to have that on in the background while I sort of did other things. So the 40-minute video finished. And then it wasn't enough of Virtual Springfield, which I can't stress enough is shit. It's fucking dreadful. But I felt like I needed to see everything, so I put on a 2-hour one instead. Skipped through the bits I'd already seen. I'd already seen, Ned Flanders' house.
Right.
Don't need to see it again. Certainly didn't need to see the library again. That was just one of the most dull things I've seen in my life. What a bad game. I found the idea as a kid so appealing, as so many of these old products and media go. Found it so appealing as a kid, and I did want it. And I used to see clips on TV, like little snatches wherever, they did deign to show game footage on TV. And I was always like, I want that. I want to walk around in Springfield. And it really isn't that. It's a horrible, just clicking on things and seeing bad jokes, because if they were good, they'd be in the show. And the only good ones are ones copied from the show. Really bad, just shitty quotes, unfunny. Relies so much on just clicking through sight gags, click through Ned Flanders' record collection and shit like that. I don't even remember any of it. None of it was funny. The only thing I think I remember was from Ned's house, and it only stood out because it was offensive, and it was a book or one of his hobbies, or it was a to-do list, but either way, it was telling Hindus they're wrong.
Oh.
Now, I get the character of Ned Flanders before anyone says anything, but it still strikes me as something I don't think they'd do to get that particular representation of a fundamentalist Christian across these days. Maybe in a much more vicious satire of that particular belief system, but not in The Simpsons. So that stood out. I'm trying to think if anything else did. It does amaze me, though, looking at this and some other games from around that time, just how many games where the graphics just looked like they were done in MS Paint.
Oh, yeah.
That was the Simpsons one, because at the time, I guess it was the best you could do to get it to look like the show. Well, no, because we had fucking 16-bit and shit back then. But then again, I guess if they wanted it to look cartoony, that was the best they could do. It's not like they had cell shading, and it sure as shit isn't like they were going to try and hand animate anything. Although they probably could have, because it's not like a 3D world. It is all flat space, and so much of it is clicking. But yeah, just struck me God, when Troy McClure makes his first appearance, because it's the first character you see, it looks so MS Paint. It so wouldn't stand now. Right. Even in an indie space, you'd have to be doing something really charming with it. And I've seen games that have that quality that are going for that, but I've never really found one that was good enough to make me want to look at it. But yeah, I can't recommend anyone don't watch all of it, but I would say if there's a compilation or just some little just look at it a bit, because it is a fascinating window into that time period. Like the Eclipse, yes. Just look at it a bit. Look at it just a bit. That's another thing WrestleMania that happened without
Just,
I was so dissociated this weekend, it just happened without
just
me.
passed
I mean,
right over
it
you.
wasn't really a thing over here in our country. There are you could have seen a tiny bit of a little blob go over the bottom of the sun, maybe up in the north, but
Oh, well, fair enough.
it's not like there was a big solar eclipse and you just didn't look at it.
That's okay then. But that's how out of touch I am. I didn't even know that was...
But that's what happened to me. I was sitting in my house, and my wife messaged me. She's like, are you going outside for the eclipse? And I had actually intended to, like 30 minutes earlier. I'd looked when I was going to be passing over. I thought, I'll go outside. And then I realized, the light that manages to get through the blanket that I have over my office window had dimmed. So it must be happening.
Yeah.
We couldn't see it here anyway. There were clouds. It was nothing to see.
Well, I always miss them. I always just let them go over my head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're making the joke I made earlier and you just didn't hear.
Oh, fuck. Fuck!
Yeah, but you did it confidently enough that I gave you the laugh.
You know what? It's because as soon as I had the joke, which was ages ago...
Right.
I was so busy congratulating myself, I didn't hear a goddamn thing.
That's perfect. I love it.
I was patting myself on the back while you were doing the joke. Can I just add?
Please.
Yeah.
Just to tack on, because I know, I've spent a long time on virtual fucking Springfield, but I don't know how best to describe that era, but there was this fascinating era of licensed games on PC.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all kind of...
Shit
is a great word for it. But they were very much not video games. Like Simpsons had, Bart versus Space Mutants on consoles, and there was, of course, the Simpsons arcade game. But then you come on PC and you get fucking Cartoon Studio and Virtual Springfield. And some of it was bordering on experimental, but just shit. The other one I can remember, and I know there would have been others, the one I remember is Beavis and Butthead. They had one.
Oh, yeah. Virtual Stupidity?
That may have been it. The only bit I really remember was there was a minigame where you're on the roof of, I think, the school, and you're spitting down at stuff. A bit like a shooter, like a targeting, target practicey thing. Mm-hmm. You're basically it's disgusting. You're hocking is, and it's I think it might have been 2-player. I think me and my brother at one point, we played a lot of games as kids together. One was Butthead, one was Beavis, and you just go left and right, and you charge it up by them making noises that I'm not going to replicate because I have a thing about mouth fluids as a thing, and it makes me want to go there. But that was the game. And I know there was more to it, but I think that was one we had a demo of, which was also a big thing on PC back then, which was great for me because, I was poor as shit back then. It wasn't even my computer. We had to go to my granddad's or my uncle's laptop. But yes, Beavis and Butthead was one, Simpsons. I know Monty Python had a PC game.
They had a couple of them. They had a whole, virtual desktop thing.
That was a big thing back then as well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There was a Rocky Horror Picture Show adventure game that was...
Ooh, that rings a bell.
Weird. Elvira had a couple of them that were in the vein of, Shadowgate. There was a Beavis and Butthead Bunghole-in-One mini-golf game. I'm trying to think what else. There was a Duckman adventure game.
Fucking
which, of
hell.
all of the animated series...
Pull.
Yeah.
Duckman!
Right? Yeah.
Oh
that was a great show.
God. Oh shit, that's having a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Duckman went straight through to Dr. fucking Katz.
Oh, I was thinking about Dr. Katz the other day.
That's straight through to the critic.
Well.
Oh.
Yeah.
Some of the finest animated television ever made.
I need to rewatch it. I haven't watched it since I was, a kid. And I mean, a kid. I'm pretty sure, I wasn't even a teenager. I remember even then loving it. I'm sure as an adult I'd get a lot more of it.
Oh, yeah.
But I remember as a kid, adoring it. It was one of those shows that we somehow had cable or Sky at the time. I'm pretty sure not legally. But we had it for a while, and it was on one of those channels that were at the time really exotic because, old bitches on this show. This is when that was new. Like, I remember when Sky TV was new. I remember when the fucking Simpsons was new. I remember billboards advertising it, being like, what is this? And that started on Sky, and that was part of all these exotic American cartoons that weren't like kid shows. The only one that filtered through that, because it wasn't strictly an adult show and it was on Nickelodeon, was Ren and Stimpy. But those shows, you could only see them on cable. Dr. Katz, I almost never got to see. Duckman as well, it was like on late night on some random channel, and I only ever saw dribs and drabs. But The Critic I got to see a fair bit of, and I only vaguely remember a joke involving Freddy Krueger running a maybe like a nursery or like a daycare centre or something. And of course I remember the crossover with The Simpsons, which he's going to be more famous for with a lot of people. Yeah, sorry, went fully off topic, but I like these little divergences sometimes, where we just sort of just wax nostalgic or something about other stuff. But yeah, that curious time of I'll have to see if there's a good retrospective of it. These unconventional, weird, not strictly video gamey licensed games, virtual desktops, movie making studios, and weird adventure games and virtual. Like, there was a lot back then, and I miss the spirit of it, even though I don't miss the quality of it.
Yeah.
It's good that we have like YouTube for that we can go back and not have to first-hand to deal with some of them, but it's nice that I can go back and see them, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. I played another thing this week that I could talk about a little bit. This is not a new one, but it's one I went back to replay to get it in my head, because after many years, the sequel is coming out, I think, end of next month. I went back and replayed Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
Ooh.
Because the sequel to that is coming out, I think, end of next month.
Oh, that's soon.
Yeah, I think it's end of May. But yeah, for anyone who's never played it, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is like maybe 8 hours long, and it is a third-person sort of puzzle combat exploration game where you are playing as Senua. The premise is your lover died in some pretty tragic way, and you've got his head on your belt, and you are travelling to meet the god of the underworld to plead for your lover's soul to be returned.
Like you do.
It's a myth you see across cultures, the I will travel to the depths of hell to bring the one I love back from the one who presides over all evil.
It's a fascinating game.
Yeah, so like on the surface that is what it's about, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say, as much as it is that, it is also a story about someone living with psychosis at a time in history where that was not terribly well understood, and where you would be walking a line between, you know, there's a 50-50 chance if you're going to be perceived as like a mystical leader in your society, or oops, you've got demons in your blood.
Yeah, that's a real crapshoot, right? Like,
it's a real...
When you think about it...
It's real rough, where it's like, oh, you're hearing voices and seeing things. Either that's visions our community should be guided by, or your blood is full of ghosts.
But that seems to be all a who you know situation, right?
Yeah, and
I sometimes think about that though, because yourself and myself, Laura, especially, like, we're neurodivergent and have like various mental illnesses. And sometimes I do think, like, my God, if I were born, in some instances, just a couple decades ago, I'd have been locked up, or before then, like, treated like all sorts of weird and invasive and terrifying ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, really interesting studies you can look into on, like, the treatment of people who, obviously we can't diagnose people today who were alive long in the past, but you can look at accounts of people and go, this sure does seem to line up with modern-day mental health conditions, look through the lens of, like, hey, in which cultures were people seen in sort of special spiritual positions, and in which... Like, side note, my favourite one of these that I think about a lot is the phrase "away with the fairies." Largely is agreed to have its etymology in childhood autism diagnosis, because it was fairy tales that were told about, like, around the age of 2 or 3, usually when autism symptoms start to show themselves, is when you would get these stories of pixies came in and took my child away and replaced them with this not quite human, not the child I knew replacement.
Jesus.
Yeah, but, like, that's where the phrase away with the fairies comes from. My child is away with the fairies. They got taken away and replaced with some not quite them replacement thing. But, point being, I have complicated thoughts about this game mechanically. So the game splits into two halves. There is combat, which I'll get out of the way first. I don't think this game needs as much combat as it has. I think the first Hellblade could probably do with a little less combat and be fine. The combat in it is certainly not bad.
It's got an interesting cadence to it that...
Yeah.
The only other game I've seen build on that is the recent, the newer God of Wars. And it's weird that I've not seen other games not a lot of them have tried to copy it.
It's not a bad comparison, because, like, it's got a fairly limited selection of enemies you're fighting, but it's basically wait for the attack animation to be coming in, do your dodge to get out the way, get in with your attacks, but everything is, like, very over-animated. Everything has, like, a real weight to it, and I will give it credit that tonally it does capture that feeling of this is a person getting more and more worn down the more they are fighting, and that there is a real sort of tangible, the longer a fight goes on, it feels like it's really difficult to keep going for the person fighting, and they capture that well in well in the system. There is a very limited number of types of enemies you will fight, and a very limited number of interactions with them, and you will do a lot of fighting the same enemy a lot of times. I don't think that's always to this game's benefit pacing-wise. I understand what it's narratively trying to convey, but so-so.
I think that's a problem with it overall, pacing, because the puzzle side as well is...
Yeah, because the puzzle side, there's basically one puzzle type, which is... You see a door, and it's locked, and there's a sigil on it, and you've got to stand somewhere in the environment to make it look like a bunch of unconnected things line up, and they now look like that sigil, and now you can go through the door. That is basically every puzzle in the game. And it's not to say that they're not varied in how they apply that. I think there is better variation on show in that element of the game, but overall, the game is a vehicle for narrative. And I think there is an argument to be made for its length, and the roadblocks put in place to slow down progression do give that narrative the time it kind of needs to breathe. Even if in isolation there's a lot of moments where I go, I feel like this roadblock you've placed isn't necessarily doing anything but lengthening the game. Narratively, I still think that game does really impressive stuff in how it walks the line of the representation of psychosis. I think it does a pretty admirable job of, sure, it does sometimes use it as a gameplay mechanic. There will be moments where, like, the game is trying to get you to look at something, so the whispering voices coming from all sides around you are making fun of the fact that you haven't noticed a thing, but what they're actually doing is kind of pointing you towards, like, there's a thing, look over there. But they don't overuse that. They don't overuse it as a gameplay mechanic. And as such, I feel like they avoid it falling into the realm of mental health disability equals secret superpower too much. They also don't lean too heavily on having those voices mislead you directly. They don't overuse it to the point of, I'm going to ignore very genuine game advice the game is trying to give me because you overplayed your hand on just fucking lying to me. They walk a fine line between those voices being complimentary, reassuring, and berating in a mix that never feels like it gets too stuck in any one of those.
If I recall correctly, like, a lot of the time, they do a good job of not even making it, like, certainly not like Silent Hill, the message, the short message.
Oh, God.
Yeah, where it's like, sometimes it's just background chatter, and it's just that's part of life. Like, I can't speak for psychosis, I don't have that. I can certainly, like, relate to certain things that become just background, like, noise. And I think at times they do good with that, and like you say, they don't go so unbalanced and extreme with, like, the bullying side of stuff.
It's allowed space to be mundane chatter that you just kind of exist with.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
It's been a while, but sometimes, like, they're just commenting on what you're doing, aren't they? Like the voices.
Yeah, sometimes they are just an outside observer sort of paying attention to you. And, like, overall, I do think there's a lot that game gets right. I feel like that game's been out long enough that I can talk a little bit about one of the choices they made that, like, really put me off playing that game at first, and I understand why they did it, even if I don't necessarily think it was the best decision. So I'll just say it. The beginning of that game heavily implies that permadeath exists, and that if you die too many times, your save will get deleted entirely.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not a mechanic. That's just not a game mechanic that the game has. And going in this time and knowing that, I had a very different read on it. Because back in the day, I got really put off that game. Because, like, the way that game is paced, where, like, everything is quite deliberate and is a bit of a slog to do, just about works playing it through once. The thought I had in my head the first time was, if I get 2/3 of the way through this game and perma-die, I'm not going to replay this from the start. Yeah. It's not the kind of game that I'm going to want to replay. I understand what they're doing with that lie. Paranoid delusions about one's own imminent mortality that are maybe not based in reality is not an unrealistic thing to portray. And I think that ultimately it does serve the narrative. While also going, I think it's a real swing to have a game like this and put in the player's head, we might just, like, completely cut you off and not let you see the end of this unless you redo it.
Yeah. Game devs love the idea of that and don't have the nerve. And why should they? I just about remember the one game that attempted it. It was on Steam. I played it a bit. It was shit. From what I remember, this was so long ago. It was a weird sort of multiplayer thing where...
Is this the top-down pixely one in the woods? It was like called like 1 Year or something?
No. This was like a first-person multiplayer thing where I think there was a limited amount of lives for like the entire world.
Yeah.
I think it was a disaster. I think that's the end message, is it turned out to be a disaster.
I'm still not sure how I feel about that particular design decision. While going in knowing it, I understand entirely what they were going for, even if I think it is a risky move to make as a dev. But yeah, having finished replaying it, I am really fucking curious what a sequel to this is going to look like. Mm-hmm. Because so much of this game is fundamentally about the fact that a very, very, very traumatic event has really upped the degree with which a person is experiencing psychosis, and that person coming to terms with that traumatic event, and as such being more grounded in reality as a result. I don't know what a sequel to this looks like, and I'm very, very curious to see how you follow that up in a way that doesn't throw away those core ideas, but that also doesn't just go back to, oh, she's back in the middle of a major psychosis episode, and it's the same sort of thing again. I'm super curious about the follow-up to this.
Yeah. I tried replaying it a little while ago, because, this was after the sequel had been announced, and I have an interesting history with that game. Overall, I did like it. That's not what my initial retracted review score says. I still hold my hands up. That was an angry knee-jerk over a glitch that was still a fucking big fucking bug. But, I ended up settling instead of a 1 on a 7. Because it's very good. Fundamentally, It has a lot of good stuff going for it. For myself, it's only a good experience once. When I replayed it, I could not bear the puzzles anymore. The essentially, I Spy running around these environments looking for hidden shapes and objects and stuff. I will tell you how my mind works, though. This was my thought process a moment ago, was, how am I going to best describe those puzzles? I Spy? I suppose I could say that. Oh, I could say, if I wanted to play Where's Wally, I'd get a Where's Wally book. That's a great idea. So I'm on eBay right now, looking at Where's Wally now, Where's Wally the Wonder Book, Where's Wally in Hollywood, let's not forget that. Oh, there's a collection. Delightful. Anyway, I'm not impulsive. It's okay. That's pure impulse. I'll probably get bored of that idea in a minute. But that is what put me off a second run. I'm glad I played it once, and I think it is a good experience once through.
My experience was different, but for a similar reason. I really struggled with spatial orientation and found those puzzles really frustratingly difficult the first time through, because I do not have a visual memory or imagination, which makes it really hard to, take an environment and imagine how I would rotate it and myself within it to see a thing line up properly.
Oh my god, I have, similar to that. I can just about do it. It's a real fucking struggle.
Oh, I have 0 of it, which is not great for a game like Hellblade.
It'd be unplayable.
So, first time through, really fucking frustrating experience doing those puzzles. I enjoyed it a lot more this replay because I'd been through those puzzles before and had had the frustrating experience 6, 7, whatever years ago it was. Getting to go, I sort of vaguely half remember this, and therefore actually pay a bit more attention to the plot and have the plot a little less spread out. I had a better time in it.
That'll be the issue with me, is my life is essentially, when you play a platform game and you go on a bridge and the blocks of making up the bridge fall behind you, that's me and my entire life. It just disappears behind me, and I have such a little recollection of Senua's Sacrifice that going through it again is the same experience. So I can't find stuff. It's really annoying because if I rewatch a comedy, I don't remember any of the jokes or anything that happened, but somehow my brain remembers that it found it funny the first time, and I don't find it as funny again. I'm like, this is all new. Why aren't I laughing? And my brain's like, because we've seen it. I'm like, but I don't remember it. Anyway, sorry.
No.
I realise I've been very chatty today.
Did you want to chat about any other things you've played?
Ooh. Final Fantasy X, played more of that. The only thing I've really got to say about that, as I've been playing through it, is, my god, blurry things was all the rage back then. And I know some of it was graphical, because I've talked about this on the GTA games on the PSP. Sometimes I think it is sort of just to make something more fluid when it's fast moving or something. But in Final Fantasy X, so much of it is so unnecessary and gratuitous. Because in some cutscenes, you see things moving really fast, and there's a lot of action, and there's nothing being blurred or being given loads of motion trace lines and stuff. And then suddenly, sometimes for really random stuff, it's really bad, and it's really fucking ugly. And I don't know how much of it was a graphical limitation, or how much of it was a stylistic thing, because some of it seems stylistic. And I know quite a few games were like that back then, because I think Metal Gear Solid had a lot of that. And I don't like it. When they don't need to do it, it's not a good stylistic thing. I'm not sure if I'm doing a good job of describing, or if people remember exactly what I'm talking about. Just this excessive blurriness to represent motion. Also, when there's an earthquake or some sort of shaky thing going on in that game, it judders so bad. It's like a bad VCR picture. It's awful. It's eye-searing. It jumps up and... Oh, I tell you what it's like. When you see an NPC stuck behind a rock and their character model glitches up and down really rapid? That, but the entire screen, and on purpose. Fucking ghastly. But other than that, still enjoying it. I think I will wrap up because, I've been running my mouth.
That's all good. Right. Shall we talk about some news bits for this week?
Oh, why not?
Let's start with the big one. IGN had a report that went up last week that is well worth reading, but it's also a fucking heavy read. The gist of it: Studio Deck 9, the developers behind the last couple of Life is Strange games, they were behind Before the Storm, which is the prequel to the originals, and True Colors, the most recent one. There have been some allegations of some bullshit going on, and we'll start with the headline thing that was in the headline of the IGN piece. Someone got a job at Deck 9, and reportedly started sneaking Nazi shit into an upcoming game that Deck 9 was working on. Developers working on the game started noticing, hey, that's a lot of 88s and racist memes starting to show up, like, on in-game assets out of nowhere for no reason. Like, this is not an accident, someone's putting these in deliberately to try and put Nazi shit into this sort of queer game series we're working on.
Yeah. I tell you what, right? Not to push anything too far, but it's not great.
It's not great.
Not ideal, no.
It's not fucking Nazi shit. Not fucking
Yeah.
great. Not cool. Not too cool.
You know what? I'm proud of you for taking that brave stance.
Thank you. It took a lot of bravery on my part, I think.
Well, you're already a step above, reportedly, Deck 9's management, because saying Nazi shit like Nazi runes and racist memes and Nazi dog whistle numbers showing up is a bad thing. You know, the devs that noticed this went to the higher-ups at Deck 9 and were like, hey, we're starting to notice Nazi shit in the game. You're gonna do something about this, like help us work out who's putting Nazi shit in the game, or something. They basically fucking ignored it, didn't treat it like it was a problem. And developers on that game had to keep bringing it up again and again and again and again to get anything done about it.
How do you not move on that?
How is Nazi shit not the line where you go, fuck, we should probably be proactive about that?
A moment ago, we were talking about the whole, Conrad and I made a great joke, a quality rib, about the bravery and the pride that Conrad had him. But even as I was saying the bravery bit, like, I realised that we are in an age where that is no longer... It's not... It shouldn't take bravery to say it, but saying the Nazis are shit is now controversial somehow. Like, people will push back against it.
It's not without risk. Like, you could take that to your superiors at your company and have the concern that you might be making waves with this statement.
Well, that's it. Like, there was a time where condemning the Nazis was such an obvious thing that making that was a valid joke. Was, you're so brave for saying that because that's not controversial and no one argues with that. It's why I always found it funny once when my great-grandmother just seemingly at random was just like, oh, that Hitler was a bastard. And I'm like, yes, she was, grandmother, yes. Oh, I tell you what, that Hitler, he was a bastard.
Now they'd cancel your grandmother.
Yeah. I mean, we saw it with Wolfenstein 2, where they were like, you're gonna, kill Nazis. And then a bunch of people who claimed they weren't Nazis were like, why you gotta diss the Nazis? I saw people angry once that there was a framed print of an old Superman comic from, the 50s, where he was punching Nazis. And people were like, oh my god, why are you making Superman woke now? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is the world we live in.
Yeah, so we won't go into, depth on every single thing in this big IGN piece, but, the bullet points beyond, the Nazi shit in the headline is a whole bunch of crunch going on, some reports of various individuals not being properly dealt with after doing sexual harassment and toxic workplace shit and sexist remarks. The big focus of a lot of the piece is on a person who was the CCO of Deck 9, Zach Garris, who reportedly pretty fucking brazenly right-wing, it would seem, in that while being in charge of a company making, very queer-heavy games, was, walking around the studio going, oh, stop trying to force diversity into video games. No, we're not going to do a post for Black Lives Matter because they're a hate movement. No, I won't explain to you why we've pulled a trans character out of this game at the last minute without explaining to the dev team why their work was cut.
Political ideologies is what he was so against, which, as I pointed out on the Jimquisition this past week, it is weird how the people so against political ideologies seem to be politically motivated when that happens.
Weird. It's almost as if that is an inherently political stance in and of itself, you asshole.
It's it's the same thing, you dickhead. Yes.
Yeah. Lastly, there's some claims made against Square Enix, and specifically Square Enix London. We can basically boil those down to, we don't want to be associated with, quote, that gay game, is apparently a sentiment that existed at some point. And also, hey, don't promote that Life is Strange True Colors has a bisexual protagonist. Oh, people like that the game's got a bisexual protagonist? Oh, we were behind promoting that all along. We fucking love having a bisexual protagonist, we do. So that doesn't sound great.
Yeah. I'll say this, I used to have a contact at Square Enix, specifically Square Enix London, and funnily enough, I talk about my fucking brain being a sieve. I literally just remembered, because I've talked about it before, that's literally where the whole corporations don't want some of the money, they want all of the money came from, was my contact there, the observations they made. It's run by some world-class dickheads. That's the short of it.
Wow.
Is, the top decision makers at Square Enix are out of touch dickheads. Now, one can't speak, of course, for the people closer to the ground, obviously. I wanted to make it clear in anything I've said about it that management is the issue, not, the ground floor developers. But it's the same with any game company. They're all run by dickheads.
There is one part of this that, just going back to the Nazi shit for a second.
Yeah.
There is a part of that I do find somewhat positive and hopeful, because when I think about it, 10 years ago, that shit could have just found its way in there, and there's a very good chance no one would have noticed.
That's true.
Yeah.
Their internal language, their references, their dog whistles are much more broadly known to people, and they're on the lookout. And so that's good.
If there's one thing in this story that reassures me, it is that. It is that the majority of the people working at Deck 9 seem to be the kind of people who are genuinely pushing for positive representation and doing that for the right reasons, but also are aware enough to recognize a Nazi dog whistle when someone tries to fucking sneak it past them.
Yep.
And to not give up when management are not taking it seriously, and to persist and pester until it gets dealt with. And that is reassuring.
Yeah, and I think that's partially, not partially, entirely the result of hiring the diversity that Deck 9 overall is proud of, and I'm sure we'll talk about their particular form of pride in that. But it's the importance of not just hiring marginalised people, but as I said on Monday, listening to them, because just hiring a queer person or a person of colour and then just ignoring them, it does nothing. It's a great thing for the individual, and that's wonderful, but that doesn't, if anything, it takes away from, the cultural contribution if you just sequester them and just leave them on the bench. Listen to those people, especially if you're going to tackle, themes relevant to them.
Well, it sort of suggests that they're not actually interested in the broader goal so much as they are appearing to participate in the broader goal.
Yeah. And that's the importance of hiring marginalized people, not just because they care enough to kick up a stink about it, but one of the reasons they would recognize, the symbolism and the imagery of Nazis and that is they have to, because so much of it is targeted at them already and directed at them, which is another big reason why it is so fucking sick that it is in Life is Strange of all things, or someone tried to put it in Life is Strange of all things, and that so much of this shit news is involving that particular studio. Yeah, you need to hire people, you need to listen to them. That whole issue with the Nazi stuff is self-demonstrating why you need to listen, because if that had released with that stuff in it, for all of Deck 9's fucking inactivity, that would have been fucking a shit show, bar none.
It's one of my favourite series of games, and as disappointing as it was to read this piece, in terms of oh god, I really have to think about this in association with a thing that I like and enjoy now. You're right. At least it's not the game came out and people found Nazi shit hidden in it.
Have we gotten any reaction from the chuds along the lines of, I can't believe they're making people change their vision for this game?
I'm curious whether they like Life is Strange now, or they still hate it, or that was something I was very curious about.
Have they found a new reason to hate it, right?
The only thing I can imagine is they're delighting in the hypocrisy of wokeness. That's probably how they're going to take it. Which is, funnily enough, the position I took, but with a very different point to the one they're going to make. Right. But I think that's probably the most likely thing. It would be, oh, look at them, not so high and mighty.
Well, it also flies in the face of all of the, concerns that they have over DEI and whatnot. Like, don't worry, your people are still at the top.
I mean, that is the other thing as well. Like, I drew comparisons in the video to Ubisoft and Activision, who we have reminded people every time they come up on this show that they are, like, horrifically, their corporate culture, their workplace culture was horrifically abusive, and by all accounts, nothing has changed. And the men in charge of the whole thing, your Bobby Kotick, your Yves Guillemot, seemingly those in charge at Deck 9, keep their jobs. And if they keep their jobs when they were overseeing everything, how can we expect things to change? If the same men are in charge that have always been in charge, who think they know better when it comes to subject matter related to the lived experiences of other people, nothing's going to change. And this is why the game industry is fucking so rotten. Everything they've ever done is lip service. Everything. The ESRB is lip service. All those ratings are lip service. Yep. All their fucking guidelines that they have is lip service. The things they say about, like, what games should cost and how workers should be treated. We've seen, like, how little they actually believe in a lot of what they say. Like Activision making a big show of we have hired some non-binary people before, and I'm like, did you like listen to a damn fucking word they said?
If a multinational corporation is telling you that it cares about something other than money, it is marketing.
Yes, it's marketing, aka lying. And people use it to defend companies. They say, oh, companies only exist to make money, so you shouldn't judge them.
No, that's exactly why we should judge
obviously.
them.
Obviously, we should judge them for that. That is, as I've said before many times, it's not a defense, it's an indictment. But they want to use it as a defense. But then they also want to come out and take offense when we criticize them for, like, this insincere shit. And I'm like, no. Why are you having to go at us for criticizing it for being insincere when you admit that all they're doing this for is money?
Yep.
Yeah. Getting the other video game story grumble out the way. Roblox.
Sadly.
Unfortunately.
We talked about this before, we unfortunately know about it. It's the thing that, like, all the young kids play that, like, is being used to exploit them into creating content for a huge mega corporation under the guise of, like, have fun, play with silly things so we can make money off you. That was a real interesting, like, the mask came off exchange that I think is worth talking about. So back at GDC at the end of March, Eurogamer spoke to Roblox's studio head Stefano Carrazza and asked some questions of, like, hey, Roblox has a reputation of, exploiting young people and, getting them to work as developers, making money off of things made by children and maybe being kind of exploitative. And the initial part of this story is the quote that was said. Some of the wildest quotes I've ever heard of a very rich CEO trying to justify his exploitation of children.
Always good to hear. Always good to hear them try their best at this.
Great way to start this, so I'll start reading from them. I don't know. You can say this for a lot of things, right? Like, you can say, okay, we are exploiting, child labor, right? Or you can say, we are offering people anywhere in the world the capability to get a job and even an income.
Oh my god.
So I can be like 15 years old in Indonesia living in a slum, and then now with just a laptop I can create something and make money and sustain my life. So that's how he started. Was, you could call it child labor exploitation, but, like, what if someone was, like, a child but almost not a child, and poor, and we exploited them, but they made some money in the process?
You call it exploiting children, I call it basically Live Aid on a larger scale.
Okay, so this is where he continues and he starts... This is where he's about to put his foot in his mouth. He continues, I mean, our average game developer is in their 20s, but of course, there's people that are teenagers. And we have hired some teenagers that had millions of players on the platform. Which sure sounds like you are admitting to hiring children to make your game for you.
Yeah, I don't think that's quite on the level.
There's some squishy language there. Teenagers there are a couple, in the United States, the age of majority is 18. They're still technically teenagers for 2 years. They could be hiring legal adults in their relative jurisdictions.
They might be operating under porn title rules.
They might be.
They might be, like, putting in job listings for, like, barely legal programmers.
But
There's a website. Holy shit. Sorry. Barely legal programmers. Oh, God. Subscribe.
So the problem is, I think, is that he said that sentence in the context of being asked, so about your exploitation of children.
Yeah.
Like, when you say, please address your exploitation of children, and you talk about having hired teenagers to work for you, it sounds like probably children.
Yeah, you know what? It didn't convince me when Jerry Lawler said technically teenager as well.
Yeah. So they've now walked that statement back. They've issued a statement to Eurogamer going, well, our developer and creator community includes individuals with a wide spectrum of professional capabilities and team sizes, ranging from young students and independent hobbyists all the way to full-time studios. It's an educational tool, and education has been part of the company. And just fucking... It's the corporate statement that man did not make when he gave that interview. It's the, I didn't mean to say that anyone who's a child ever worked on Roblox. We want to be clear, we've never hired minors, we don't hire minors. They're not convincing anyone, though.
No. And honestly, I think if anything, this really demonstrates the need to update our ideas of what isn't labour and what isn't employment. This is something, obviously I complain about YouTube all the time, but I was having a discussion on the Trash Palace Discord with someone about YouTube at one point, and I said, if YouTube's content creators were treated legally the way employees were, like they should be, YouTube would be breaking so many fucking laws. Like, everything they do with content creators would be illegal if content creators had the rights they should have.
And if they had followed the law, they would not exist.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
The financials would not add up in any way to be even remotely viable. I was just saying this to someone, remind yourselves always, if there is $1 billion company, it was founded on a crime somewhere.
Oh yeah, not a crime.
Well, no,
many crimes.
The crimes can vary.
It all starts with one.
Yeah.
My lucky crime, as it were.
Yep.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
DuckTales. It was I suppose I should have done it. Me lucky crime.
Me lucky crime.
Me number one crime. Like, you get it. It was a good joke.
It was a very good joke. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who did he kill, Scrooge, do you reckon?
Who knows?
Roblox is no different from YouTube in that regard.
Yeah.
Like, he can say we've not directly hired anyone as much as he likes. That is such a Doctor Doom, like, listen to my exact words kind of statement.
Yeah.
When children perform labour that profits that company. In the same way that content creators on YouTube should legally have many of the same protections of employees.
Yeah.
The people creating content for Roblox should be treated the same way, and that includes looking at the kids putting that content out as potential child labourers.
Yeah. Couple of quick stories we can touch on real fast. You know how Yuji Naka recently got in trouble for insider trading?
Oh God.
Remember this?
I never forgot. It lives rent-free in my head, this whole thing.
He pled guilty to insider trading. He got sentenced to 2.5 years in jail and like £1 million in fines, and eventually got a suspended sentence.
Which I think is more than what he took. I think I'm still stunned at what the low amount was that he was playing. Like, my granddad would not have approved.
Yeah, we were talking in the hundreds of thousands. He was not shooting big with his crimes, but Yuji Naka's decided to make an allegation on Twitter regarding the Dragon Quest producer Yu Miyake, who is currently, about to step away as being Dragon Quest producer and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be working on mobile games now. But Yuji Naka decided to use this as an opportunity to accuse the Dragon Quest producer of having lied under oath in court as part of that insider trading trial.
Oh.
And here's what I will say. Yuji Naka, if you genuinely believe that man lied under oath and got, that's part of why you got the sentence you did, and that was a thing you had evidence for and believed you could prove, I imagine you'd have probably brought it up in court.
That seems strange.
It feels like you're bringing it up on Twitter to try and make it seem like, I got framed, in a legal setting where you don't have to promise to tell the truth.
Yeah. Now, look. There could be valid reasons for, who knows? I certainly am interested to know why at trial this wasn't brought up.
Yeah.
Very interested. That story, for some reason, just utterly grips me. I'm not entirely sure why, but something about it just tickles me.
The thing about it that fascinates me is that he's not made any claim about what the lie was, and he's not followed it up. He's not followed it up as if he's going to do anything about it. He's like, oh yeah, he lied under oath. Anyway, goodbye. Just vanished into the ether.
I have this feeling, and this is just me armchair booking. I'm just pulling it out my ass. I'm not saying this will happen, but I just have this feeling. He's going to be the subject of one of those stories that you get. Documentaries, not a famous, big documentary. It'll be one of those YouTube documentarians. We'll have a story highlighting just what a dumbass he is. I just feel like, you see those videos about, obviously there's that America's Dumbest Criminals is the most famous example, but you get these, fascinating stories sometimes about, a bank robbery that went completely wrong because they were so fucking inept. It's where I hope this is going. I hope eventually when all the details come to light, it's this guy that played for utterly low stakes, fucked up the whole way, and then at the end just desperately tried to pull nonsense out of his ass. I hope that's where this is going. However, if any executives at Square Enix do get brought down as a result, I ain't gonna cry.
Nah.
So either way, it's fine. I mean, not for Yuji Naka, obviously. Shit sucks for him.
Shit does suck for him. We can probably wrap it up there on news. I got one very quick thing I want to do before we go. I've got a little segment, and I didn't wedge it in earlier, but I've got a little... I saved this in case the news was depressing. I found a place near me that sells video game-themed fizzy drinks.
Oh, no.
And I'm curious about the flavour of certain video games.
I fucking am now.
I've brought some options.
Mm.
Which video game do you want to know the taste of? I've got Crash Bandicoot, which I think is specifically meant to be the Wumpa fruits from the boxes.
Oh, that would be good.
There.
Yeah, sorry, I was imagining like licking Crash Bandicoot.
Oh no, don't worry, we're getting that direction.
Oh,
there's Spyro the Dragon. It's just Spyro flavour, so I guess it's the dragon flavour.
Right. I would guess grape because purple at a push, but yeah.
Right.
Then we have Tetris. And it's just a bunch of Tetris blocks. And I don't know what flavour to expect Tetris to be.
Lego. It just tastes like plastic.
Vodka.
Oh, vodka's a good one.
I feel like Tetris is where we start. I'll save the others for a future week, but shall we find out together what Tetris tastes like?
Yes. Or do we want to build up to it? Because I think that's a good progression from like the reasonable Wumpa fruit to the confusing Spyro to Tetris.
That's fair. We'll start with a Wumpa fruit.
Yeah.
Before I open this, what kind of real world fruit is Wumpa fruit just gonna be? Because I'm just assuming it's orange.
You see, I find Wumpa fruit to look especially delectable. And I'm talking even on the PS1. There's something very delectable about a Wumpa fruit. It's yellow and red. And it makes me...
It looks kind of like a mango or an apple.
Kind of mango-y, apple-y. It makes me think of a peach a little bit. I don't think it would have quite the texture of a peach. But definitely a kind of... something between mango and peach.
I'm giving it a go.
Fucking sick of mango. So much stuff tastes of mango these days. What we got?
Wumpa fruit is watered down appetizer.
Oh.
It's just very watery.
Oh.
It's not like apple juice. It's specifically like that appetizer.
I fucking love appetizer.
But it's watery.
Ugh.
Someone watered down the appetizer.
I wouldn't like that. I love appetizer.
No.
Don't mess with appetizer. Why would you do that?
I was really expecting... I did not think it was just going to be watery apple.
Well, if you add water to the appetizer, you get more Crash Bandicoot drink. See?
I suppose so. Maybe this is how I get more Crash Bandicoot drink. So there you go. There's this week's What Flavor is a Video Game. Wumpa fruit is just watered down appetizer.
That's a shame.
Join us in future weeks to find out what Spyro and a Tetris block taste like.
I thought we were doing them all at once right now. Oh my god, that means I've set it up so that I have to wait. I got to wait 2 weeks to know what Tetris tastes like.
You could have known what Tetris tastes like today, but no, you not in. I mean, I could just do them all now.
You could.
You know, but the best part about like doing it once a week is that we get to remind Steph, and they get to be excited about knowing the taste of the Tetris block, and then disappointed that they're not going to know all over again. It's going to be great.
Edgetris.
Oh god, is that okay? I think we're done. We did it. We escaped.
Oh god. So join us for our regular section next week. Tetrisification. And Laura.
Yeah.
Can you tell the listener? Are we actually done?
Yeah, we're done.
You can
find me. You can find me at Laura K Buzz pretty much everywhere on the internet. What can you find from me at the moment? Look out for a thing about I did an accessibility review of Botany Manor. That's up on YouTube right now. I got some other bullshit going on. Check out Dice Funk. I remind people of that. It's a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. Each season's its own self-contained story. I'm on seasons 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think we're on season 11 now. All of them are little self-contained stories. Go listen to season 11. I'm playing a fish paladin of the Church of Riddles, who is currently on a religious pilgrimage to find the Riddle Snake, the big mythical deity, the Riddle Snake. And this has devolved into me building a religion based around really shitty riddles. It's been delightful. I'm having a very fun time coming up with the riddle equivalent of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, which is some kind of rat tail abomination of a bunch of different sort of snake/fish-looking things sort of mushed together. How'd they get that way? That's the mystery. That's the riddle. Laura K. Buzz, you'll find all the stuff I do. What about you, Conrad?
Oh, you could find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Instagram and Blue Sky, and you can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatconradzimmerman. You can hear me on Let's Talk About Snacks, where I talk about snacks. Also, Boston's Favorite Son. We'll probably try and do another one of those in the future. And you can buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise from me at mercenarycreative.com. And everything that I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Stephanie Sterling.
Yes, patreon.com/Jimquisition. That supports obviously the Jimquisition and the reviews on the site. I'm hoping to have a Princess Peach review up this coming week, but I also have a big writing project on a game that I can't talk about, and hopefully I'll be able to start talking about that soon. My upcoming wrestling dates, I will be in Leeds in May, but I've not been officially announced, so I'm not going to say any more than that. I have been officially announced for Pride of the Ring 3. This will be my third appearance at Pride of the Ring. That will be in Blackpool on June 8th. That will be with PCW. Check them out for details there. I believe that's everything. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.